What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another NBA Rundown brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm joined today by the tournament king himself, JSU. JSU, how's the NBA season been treating you so far?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Can't complain too much. I think last week we gave a nice winner for the people. Both of us were on the same bet. It was a small card though, right? So we only gave out one
Yeah.
bet, show bet, but it hit. Both of us were on it, so hopefully a bunch of people made some money that night. And yeah, we're gonna jump back on and hopefully make some people some more money tonight.
Yeah, we got a nice 6-game slate tonight. I think this is perfect for us, you and I, because we have time to talk about the games, but we're not going to go 2 hours if we go crazy on one of the games. So let's jump right in. Jonathan Nelson, hey, a big Lakers fan, had to be a little disappointed as Giannis took it to AD last night. But let's just get right into tonight's games. The first one, the Washington Wizards are now catching 6.5 to the Miami Heat. This number was 7, and then Tyler Hero jumped up on the injury report here. I thought this was a tough one to call. What did you think about this game, JSU?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Tyler Hero popping up questionable. You wonder too if all these coaches know when they're on back to backs, right? And I swear it's like planned out. Like we saw Bam, sit out last game, and Jimmy played, and then I'm like, okay, is this a back to back? So it kind of makes sense. Bam's probable to play today, and now we got Hero questionable. So do they just kind of rest some guys on the back to back? It's possible, and that's why from a betting side, it's kind of tough to, Tyler Hero he's been so good this year for this team. I will say though, like Kyle Lowry's going to be back for this game. He rested yesterday. It's another guy planned rest. Bam back. I think that this is still a game that the Heat should win. Now, from a betting side, 6.5, you said is the spread, right? That's the line?
It's 6.5 now. It was
Yeah.
7 earlier today.
Yeah, and no Dinwiddie for the Wizards because he's going to be out. Man, this is a tough one. I agree with you. This is a tough one to pick. Washington's played pretty well this year. Beal is kind of, in a way, like, wouldn't you say he's taken a back seat or gotten more guys involved and been okay with like not taking it as many shots and being as aggressive for like the team purpose, which is what I've kind of seen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that he fits with Dinwiddie a lot better. Now, that doesn't really help for our handicap tonight. With Dinwiddie out, right? I mean, if we get this news like that Bam's playing, I don't know. I kind of like the Heat, and then so I like the Heat this morning, right?
Yeah.
And then that Hero news, I mean, like, I hate to just change off one player because I usually think that these teams can overcome it and that people overreact to injury news. Now, I understand in DFS it's key, but sometimes with betting, I think that people overreact. But Hero means so much to this team's offense here. It'll be interesting. I would think that they would try and get Bam out there, though. This game should mean a lot, right? Wizards on top of the Eastern Conference standings.
Wouldn't you say too that, like, in my opinion, as long as the Heat have like 3 of their 4 guys, they're well equipped to still beat anyone. Like, especially when you're like, okay, they got Bam back most likely today because he's probable. They got Jimmy, they got Lowry. Yeah, the Hero off the bench is a weapon for sure that a lot of teams really don't have because Tyler Hero should be starting. He could start on a ton of teams.
Right.
He could start on Miami. I mean, but the reason he comes off the bench, he's still he'll still close. But I'm just saying, like, he is a starter that comes off the bench for that team. That's how good that team is. And yeah, it hurts, but at the same time, I'm with you. I think I still got to lean the Heat here. I think they're the right side of this. Jimmy and Bam are the 2 keys to that team, anyways. And when both of them play, like you said, I probably shouldn't be as worried if one of these secondary pieces, are out. Because really the team runs through Jimmy and Bam. The second unit runs through Hero, but I would assume that between those guys and Lowry, they'll figure that out.
Yeah, I think Duncan Robinson matches the shooting. Of course, just Duncan can't create off the dribble like Hero can, and that had been invaluable while those guys had missed the time. If both of them's back, I definitely still like the Heat at -7. Obviously, a little disappointed. Jonathan Nelson points out I was on the Wizards last night. I felt pretty good about that bet there. Going into halftime, and then they just fell apart. Wondering if a little bit of fatigue is getting to them, and we see that with Dinwiddie being out tonight. I mean, on most of these totals, I lean under here. 206. It seems like they've got it about right. I'm still leaning under, but I'm not going to go ahead and make a play. And why don't you? I just pulled up the DraftKings lineup right now. With Dinwiddie out, is there's an opportunity here for some value on the Wizard side? And who would you be looking at for Miami?
Yeah, from the Wizards side, I guess you would assume that maybe Aaron Holiday would start. Aaron Holiday started when Beal was out. So do they just run that back and start him? He's still kind of cheap. Denny Avila, or however you say his name, he's been playing well the last couple of games too. He's still cheap. I think those are probably the two like cheapies I would look at, if anyone, from the Wizards. And then from the Heat, like I said, when they have 3 of their 4 guys spread, I don't think these secondary pieces are just, I don't think they're in play. Like, I'm not playing a PJ Tucker. I'm not playing any of these Miami guys off the bench who like Gabe Vincent. I know he played a ton last game, but still played 27 minutes, took 12 shots, had 17 fantasy points. Like, I'm not playing Gabe Vincent though here with Lowry back. Max Struss, like none of those guys interest me. You know what I mean? And now with Bam most likely back, Deadman's not in play either at 4-1. So I'm just gonna stick with the main guys for Miami, and then like I said, the Wizards, maybe Aaron Holiday if he starts, and Denny. Regardless of if he comes off the bench, I think he's a good play because I think he's locked into his like role. Like 24 to 28 minutes, somewhere in that range. For him, which is good enough at his tag.
Bradley Beal, 9,400 with Dinwiddie out. Maybe a bump in usage there. Any interest in him is kind of like, probably like, the lower tier of a spend up. But to me, anything above 9K in my mind is the spend up range. Would you consider him for a spend up, or do you think we have better options?
Yeah, I think we have better options here. Okay. We'll get into a few of them as we go through this card, but I can't pay 9.4 for Bradley Beal. I get why you would. I still kind of think, spread though, he's going to take like more of a team approach, even with Dinwiddie. I just think that's the way this team has won ball games. That's the way they've been good. And I don't see why, with just one guy out, even if it is their maybe second best player, spread, even though I can make the case, honestly, that Trez has been so valuable to this team. He has. In ways that like maybe people don't even think about, that he is the most underrated person on this team that maybe gets the secondary love, but really should be in the front. Because man, that second unit with him, I mean, there are some games where he is just dominant and he just owns the second units of other teams. Like, it's just crazy to watch. And they still only give him like 22 minutes, 25 minutes. Like, I don't kind of get that. They paid Gafford though, so they obviously like him a little. So maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Wizards. More of the, I'm not gonna pay up for anyone.
Okay.
The Heat though, I could pay up for Lowry. I could pay up for Jimmy, obviously, if I wanted to. I'd be much more confident there.
Okay, and that's good knowledge for everybody watching. Be interested to see if you like to spend up in this game, because this kid's been on fire. The Golden State Warriors. I guess he's not a kid anymore, in his 30s. He looks so young though. Babyface assassin Steph Curry and the Warriors -9 heading to Cleveland to take on the Cavaliers. This total's 209, so low for a Warriors game. But with the Cavaliers missing all these players, not a surprise. Now I'm pulling this up right now. I think last night was the first night we dealt with this battered Cleveland team, right? Jared Allen out, Evan Mobley out. I think Markkanen is still out too, right? So at the beginning of the season, right, I was calling them the triple tower attack. They had 3 guys that were 6'10" or more in their starting lineup. I thought it was great. They were, everyone zigged, they zagged, and they went big. and they looked pretty good so far. And they've got bit by the injury bug bad here. -9. So this is an interesting spot here. Obviously, coming off the big win, that was a statement game in my mind. And I'll tell you what, I was surprised. I thought that Brooklyn was going to hang. I thought that KD and Steph were going to give us one of those duels. Like, don't know if you remember, my favorite one from the 80s was Dominique Wilkins versus Larry Bird in the 80s, and their teammates just gave them the ball every possession. I thought it might look something like that, but the Warriors absolutely blew them away. Draymond looked fantastic as well. Looking at his injury report, Iguodala's out, Curry's probable. So that's, I mean, obviously, if he's out, this completely changes this game. Otto Porter is playing, and like I mentioned earlier, Markkanen, Mobley, and also Lamar Stevens out. So missing a lot of size for Cleveland here. I didn't want to get involved in this game just because I'm not really so I basically have to throw my numbers out. They don't indicate anything to me on this Cleveland team, and these Warriors are quite good. I mean, I don't know. Laying 9 on the road, coming off a big win, doesn't really seem too attractive to me. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, well, one spread. I'm a '90s baby, so you are ahead of me from that perspective there. Yeah, I mean, I've heard of. I have older brothers. Obviously, I got a brother who was born in the early '80s, '81, I think. So yeah, I mean, I've heard of the Larry Bird Wilkins, but I did not get to see it, obviously live, like maybe you did. But I heard they were pretty sick. So I will take your word for that. And on this game, I don't know how we just don't bet Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think this spread should be higher. If you haven't watched the Cleveland Cavaliers play without Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Lauri Markkanen, I mean, it is struggle city for them to put up points. And this Golden State defense is real. It's legit.
Mm-hmm.
And their offense is, in my opinion, spread, their offense is good, and it hasn't even hit its like full ceiling potential with the guys they have. I'm not even adding in when Clay comes back, when Wiseman comes back, and how good the offense could end up being. I'm talking about right now with the guys they have. I think it's still like 75%. They have like another bit to go to get to what they could be, which would be Andrew Wiggins playing consistent, good offensive basketball, which he has the last like week and a half. But can he do that for a full season? I think some of their secondary guys, Otto Porter, slowly rounding into form a little, and I think he could be a little better offensively. He's been a better defensive rebounder than I remember, though, in past, and that's something that even his teammates have given him credit for, him being a better defensive rebounder and him attacking the boards on the defense, which is good for them. But I think he's someone who, could be better. Iguodala is there. He's getting a rest today. That's fine. Gary Payton, the second, is someone that I love. I think
he's fantastic.
I think the kid is like, I think he is like the perfect piece to a team like this spread. He's like one of those invaluable pieces that it won't always show up in the box scores, what he does, but his 15 to 20 minutes on the floor is super meaningful for that team. He hustles. He'll play the best player on the other team all the time. I mean, they said they wanted him on Harden, Durant. He got some time on both. And he's like 6'1". Like, it's tough for him to guard a guy like Durant, and he did his best. I mean, Harden too, same thing. But like, that dude is just good. There's a lot of guys on this team that are just really good in their roles, and it fits well with the team, in my opinion, because like the team is centered around Steph and Draymond. And Steph is, I mean, let's just say it. Is he the hardest person in the NBA to guard, spread?
Because his release is so quick. Once he decides to pull up, like what are you going to do? So it's just unbelievable. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, I don't know what. Like, if you're the opposing team's coach, what would you tell your player to do different?
Like, I still think Durant is the best offensive player as a whole. But I think if you want to talk about, like, it's just someone that, like, hey, spread, I'm going to do this, and you still can't stop it. Like, Steph could literally just dude, I'm going to shoot a three over in the corner. And you still like, he's going to do it. And you still will be like, I thought I got you. And nope, he got it off in time and release. Like you said, it's a quick release and it's money. Like the guy can everyone knows what he's trying to do and you still can't stop it. And that's something that not many people can say they accomplished in the NBA. And Steph Curry does it as a small, skinny, baby face frame type like player. Like that's amazing, the stuff he's doing. And when Klay comes back, it's just going to be even easier for him to get up shots because it's going to be like leaving one or the other. You can't, so that's going to be fun to watch. But I think Golden State is just, I think they're going to beat the brakes out of this Cavs team. I like watching the Cavs, honestly. Garland's been a guy that I've enjoyed watching this year. Ricky Rubio, man, he's played well this year. Spread. You want to talk about someone who looks like one of the more improved NBA players? Ricky Rubio, for sure, for me. So yeah, I think that this is just Golden State though. Run away. I'm sure Steph will have another 30+ point game, like in 3 quarters too, right? Spread, which is another thing. Like, how many guys can say like they don't get their full allotment of minutes and they're putting up like 40 or 38? Like, that's just crazy. So take the overs. Take Golden State to win, even with the big spread. I think it's not big enough, honestly.
All right. Well, you're actually kind of convincing me here to jump in on Golden State. Might wait until that news. I think this line assumes he's going to play at -9, so probably not a lot to lose there. Waiting on this game. Couple points on stuff you said. I think another thing underrated about Steph's game is his conditioning, right? Harden and those guys, they can take time off. Steph's hustling out there like Caruso or Harrell or one of those role players that needs to earn minutes. He never stops when he's on the floor. I think that would be real tiring there for defenders that have to chase him around, especially if that primary defender is one of the better offensive options, right? Like if Darius Garland has to draw that assignment tonight. Now, I know they're going to try and get away from Okoro, but the way they move in transition, it could be anyone on there. What was the one other thing that we were talking about? I can't remember off the top of my head. So let us go straight into the DFS.
The one other thing real quick. When I wish I could have like one of those, I got to get like an iPad and get one of those pens and just draw in a sequence of how Steph like gets open, where he literally will run. I mean, he runs like a mile. Like the dude literally just runs in circles, runs back and forth, back and forth. It's amazing how he ends up getting open. And you say to yourself, like, I don't understand. Like, why would you leave Steph? That no one's leaving him open.
Yeah.
He is so tricky and so like hard to guard. It is insane. That's just how good he is. It's
and
amazing.
Running your defender into a screen is kind of an underrated skill that he does really well, right? He makes it so you can't avoid that screen. And the Warriors will set 2 for him back to back. So you're like, oh, well, he let him get open. But it's like, yeah, he ran you into 2 different screens, and then he's wide open. His release is so quick, too. Even if you're pretty close, it's still an easy shot for him.
You know who was the best at that? Was Rip Hamilton. Rip Hamilton, literally, you could watch Rip Hamilton film on just how to use a screen, how to come off and get an open look. Rip Hamilton, like, was one of the best players. Him, Ray Allen, those 2 guys were definitely, like, 2 of the best players to just use that screen to come off and get looks. Steph does it, though. He'll do that, and he'll do it with the ball, where, like, those guys didn't do it both ways, right? Rip and Ray were just running back and forth, coming off screens most of the time. Steph does that, but he also can do it with the ball, which is why he's so good. Reggie Miller, as Kevin posts in the chat, he's another one who who did it really well, too. So, I mean, those guys, I mean, that's definitely something. It's an underrated skill, right, Spread?
Definitely. And jog my memory, the other point I was going to bring up, and Rubio, and then we can talk about the DFS because maybe you'll have some interest in Rubio. Rubio and Fournier, right? If you're an NBA GM, send your team to play on the national team because they come back after getting all that usage, and they're good to go. Rubio's playing better than ever, and Fournier, right, wasn't really playing too good last year at the end of the season. He looked great in the Olympics. Now he comes back. And he's been pretty good for the Boston Celtics, right? So maybe that extra time being the man, having all your teammates praise you, right? Having the whole offense centered around you. I think they come back in a little better headspace here. So that kind of just leads me to, is there any players that you're interested in tonight? Steph at 11-8, right? Still hard to ignore. No Giannis or Jokic on this lineup tonight. Oh, wait, we do have a Jokic, but no Giannis tonight. Ricky Rubio sitting at 6,900. Darius Garland, 6,800. Who are you looking at from this game?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think that the Golden State Warriors beat up on this Cavs team. Now, if you don't, you should definitely have interest in Ricky Rubio from a DFS side. Darius Garland, for sure. I don't really see that much else from the Cavs. Jared Allen's still going to be out. Markkanen's still going to be out. Mobley's out. But Cedi Osman is now way too expensive. DK, for some reason, priced him up to 6-1. Okoro, in my eyes, 4-9. No, thank you. Dean Wade at 4-2. I liked him better when he was 3-2.
Yeah.
I think that, Ed Davis maybe starts again. He's 3-6. Maybe you could go there, but the Golden State doesn't play very big. So, that's another thing. Like, I think they match up so well with this. They can run out like Gary Payton with trying to guard Ricky or Garland, whoever's on the court, and then just whoever else they want and still probably dominate this team. So yeah, if I stack this game, it's Ricky, Garland, Draymond, and Steph. And that's how I would stack it. And I'd probably leave everyone else out. Unless like I said, unless Ed Davis starts in 3.6K, I guess you could run him out there for 20 minutes and him be okay. But other than that, that's how I would do it. But
if I spend 3-6 for Ed Davis,
I have a problem playing Steph over Jokic spread. Like, that's my issue.
Especially because we're going to get into that injury report, and we're not sure about Will Barton, but could be another huge Jokic night. If I get 20 out of Ed Davis at 3-6, are you satisfied, or do you think that's not going to get you there?
No, 20 would be fine at 3-6. That'd be fine. You want that for sure. You want like 20 for sure. Yeah. 20 to 25 would be the target goal, I would say. But yeah, you can
if he starts, I think the floor is pretty low, but the ceiling isn't much different, right? Seems like he's going to get between 15 and 24.
When Kevon Looney comes out, he's coming out probably, right?
Yeah.
But
So, all right, that's an interesting thought. And, of course, you guys will need to turn in to the final countdown on runpuresports.com. If you're not already a member, head on over. You can watch JSU, Big T, and Holden. K Falcon tonight, too. He's been fun on the show. Nice little addition, bringing the charts. But, of course, to become a member, you have to head over to runpuresports.com. Remember, to use the promo code GetBets, you'll get access to all my plays and the rest of the teams as well. The San Antonio Spurs +2. Heading to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. Timberwolves able to beat my Kings last night. That was a play I had on the sheet. I was disappointed, man. And you guys always talk about it. And I just felt stupid because, I fell for it. And you guys are always saying, hey, whenever you bet the Kings, you got to worry about Luke Walton. Davion Mitchell is a +10 on the box score. With 8 minutes to go, Anthony Edwards starts just lighting the Kings up. So you're thinking, okay, let's bring Davion in, right? That's why we made this draft pick. He's a stopper. Anyone under 6'8" or less, right? He's the best option. He leaves him on the bench. The Timberwolves go on a run. Edwards looks fantastic. The Kings dropped the game, and I felt that Luke Walton cost me a unit there. Pretty disappointed, as I felt they are the better team, and they were in position to win that game. So always remember that when betting on the Kings. Now on a back-to-back, coming off a win. The Timberwolves face, I consider the Spurs to be a similar team. They're younger. They have a lot of quick players. They're not very big in the middle. Of course, Jacob Poeltl comes back tonight, so that ends a little Drew Eubanks love that we had there going with getting him at 4K or less. What are your thoughts on this game? Early lean, I guess, is towards Minnesota, but I was fine not getting involved here.
Yeah, I think if I have to make a lean, it's probably Minnesota here. What is it, 1.5 right now spread we're looking at?
I see 2 on Bookmaker, but I'm sure that, it's going to.
I see 1.5 on DK,
yeah,
but
that makes sense.
So 2, if you obviously get the better 1.5 right now for if you're on the T-Wolves, obviously 1.5. But I think I'm leaning them here. San Antonio, they're not a bad team, not a great team, but well coached. they got some good players. Jakob, like you said, is going to be back after a little while not playing. So who knows with his conditioning how much he's going to run himself out there. But you would think they need some minutes out of him, right, to kind of deal with Cat a little bit. But overall, I think the Timberwolves at home, only 1.5. I mean, I'll take them. They've got a ton of talent. Anthony Edwards is the real deal, and Towns, I mean, I've been saying, this dude, he's had some obviously unfortunate stuff happen in life and stuff like that. But man, when he wants to, he is still just a pain in the ass to deal with for any team because his versatility, he can do it all. He really can, in my opinion. He's one of the few bigs that really, he can go inside out. Like, it's really hard to deal with. And traditional centers really struggle with that. So I think Towns is in a good spot. But for DFS, I can't pay 10.5 because the ceiling is just not there. Like, he just doesn't, he's not hitting his ceiling at 10.5. I wish they would price him. I wish they would get him down to where it's like a decision. Like, get him in the mid to low 9K range where I can be like, okay, now I can think about playing Karl Anthony Towns. But at 10.5, it's like, dude, he hasn't put up 60. I'm just like looking at, he put up 56 against Phoenix, put up 51 against Memphis, 58.5 against Orlando. But we got some stinkers in there as well. Like, it's just, it's the floor is lower and the ceiling is not as high as it has been in years past. I think it's more to do, though, with Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell being there. But, yeah, for fantasy, I'm going to stay off this game. And betting, I will bet the Timberwolves, though, tonight.
All right. Well, yeah. Hey, you might talk me into it. I had this one as a stay away originally, but I do like your look there. I know you're not going to play him, but you at least talk to me about this guy, Deshante Murray, up to 9.8. And for a while, I just felt he was like the steal of the slate because he was putting up these big numbers, and he's at 9.2, and all the other guys putting up the same numbers were at 9.9, 10K, 10.1. Now it seems like they've got his price right. He put up 60 points his last game. I don't think we're going to roster him tonight at 9.8, but just give everyone your thoughts on Deshante Murray and how much he's developed this season. With DeMar DeRozan gone, he's taken over leadership of that team, and I thought he's been fantastic.
Yeah, Deshante is just, he's been one of my favorite players for the last couple of years. I thought the development and it was clear to me that eventually this kid could be the star of this San Antonio Spurs team. And, he was obviously really raw when he started playing a few years back, but you saw the potential for him to be great. And I think this year, the best part of the Spurs team is really that Deshante has gotten the chance, in my opinion, to be the guy. And Pop has literally, like, I think he's finally like, okay, you can make some mistakes. I'm not going to hook you. This was the problem in years past. Deshante Murray would be playing great, and then he'd make 2 mistakes, and Pop would hook him. And Pop would, it was just like a learning thing. And I'm sure Pop did it, one, because he had other talent on that team and veterans that he could trust in the spots. If Deshante wasn't playing well, he could just pull him. Now he doesn't really have that luxury, right, Spread? He's kind of got a little bit of a younger team now with Devin Vassell and Lonnie Walker. And, I mean, they got Derek White. He's a solid player, but still not, like, super old. Thaddeus Young, I guess, is a veteran, but Jakob Poeltl's still young. I mean, so this team is very different than what Pop's been used to coaching for really the last, 10 years, right, Spread? Because, or even longer than that, because we can go back, the Parker Ginobili in their, prime to end of years. And it's like, this Popovich has really gotten to coach some really veteran teams for a while because of how long those guys played. And now he's getting a chance to develop some young players. And I think we're starting to see it with Murray, how good he's gotten from the first few years to now. And just to a lesser note, but Devin Vassell looks like he's starting on the path to someone that we might be talking about in a few years that Pop is going to mold into someone who could be really, really good. Someone who could play on both ends, like the 3-and-D type guy.
Like the Bridges brothers.
Yeah, the Bridges brothers. Maybe not Kawhi Leonard, but I think he has ability. In comparison, I think he could be that shutdown defender who could eventually be a really good scorer as well. Not maybe the great scorer that Kawhi Leonard ended up being, but could be somewhere maybe in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, thank you. We'll probably be staying away from there. We always talk about when these teams are stacked, tough to find some value, but JSU likes the Timberwolves. I'm going to go ahead and bet that right now.
Spread. One other thing too, someone put it in the chat, and I wanted to just hit on it because it was actually, in my opinion, a really good look. Bob Ski 2323 said Beal assists over 5.5 -20, gone over in his last 7 of 8 games. Talking about a team approach. That's a great look. If you're just looking for a prop, he's right. Beal 7, 8. He's gotten over this number in 7 of 8, like he said. And I do still think it's going to be more of a team approach. So I think hitting that at 5.5 is a good pull. Nice look for Bob. I'm going to hit it, right? I'm going to hit it when we get off the show.
Yeah, I like that look, Bob. Let's talk about a game that I like. The Clippers are heading to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. I think the Clippers are a better team than the Grizzlies, but I do like this situation for Memphis. I think just with everything going on in that city right now, I think you heard about, obviously the tragedy with the young man being shot there yesterday while he's giving out turkeys to the community, right? So a guy that really meant a lot. So even if the players aren't from there, I do think that gives them an extra. I'm sure it'll be mentioned in the arena tonight, and I'm sure they've been talking about it a lot. But that actually really doesn't mean as much to me as this injury report, right? Serge Ibaka's still out. I mean, I don't know how he's managed to get paid these last 2 years. I think
they demoted him, right? They put him to the G League, right, Spread?
Oh, is that what's going on? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I just saw him out on Basketball Monster.
G League.
I heard he wasn't doing. Now that you mention that, I heard he wasn't doing very well there either.
Yeah. I think he's struggling. They said he needed to find his game or whatever.
He hasn't played for 2 years, so that makes sense to try and come back to the NBA level. Let's talk about some other issues they're having. Marcus Morris is out. Justice Winslow out. Keon Johnson's out. Nicholas Batum doubtful, and Terrence Mann questionable. I jumped in now, but I'm not sure if these guys play. And even if they do, this is a tired team. They've been playing shorthanded for a little while. I think this is a nice spot for Memphis to get back on track. Memphis's big issue this season has been defense. So we'll see if Los Angeles can take advantage of that. We know that Paul George will probably have a great game, but can the rest of these guys chip in? Are we going to get a big game from Reggie Jackson? Eric Bledsoe playing pretty good lately. And of course, Zubac, who's always hotly debated on your final countdown shows on whether or not he'll make the lineup, because he seems to be one that the coordinators are split on. So I like Memphis here, but I've also heard sharp people on the Clippers here. So I'm not saying this is absolute smash spot or go more than one unit. I did bet a unit on Memphis. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, I think this game is Memphis at home. Only 1 point favorites. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll take this team right now as it's constructed. They get Dillon Brooks back, obviously, which is going to be a help for them. Someone who can score and play defense. And then, the Clippers, like you said, they're down a lot of let's be honest, they're secondary guys spread, but at the same time, Terrence Mann and Nick Batum, if those guys are out for sure, that's big on what the Clippers are trying to do, especially with the small ball unit. It's to force them to play bigger. And I think that honestly hurts that team. So I think overall, this definitely, the news would lean itself towards Memphis as well if those guys are out. So give me Memphis right now. I don't want to mess with this. I think that this is the play. Obviously, Paul George could keep it close, but in the end, I think Memphis pulls it out.
Right, and so news makes us not want to bet on this team, right? Because this isn't the superstar subtraction angle that I loved and actually cast was yesterday on the Dallas Mavericks. So, I like that. But with these role players and the depth, I think it's really tough to overcome. But what it does do, while we're fading them on the betting side, maybe some interest here when we're looking at building a DFS lineup with some of these guys out Do you have any interest in this game from a DFS standpoint?
Yeah, well, if those guys are out, then I think you should have some interest in some of these secondary clips because they're all just, I mean, if you look at kind of what they got pushed into, Reggie Jackson played 38 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
22 shots last game. Then you got Luke Kennard, who saw 30 minutes, I think, last game. Amir Coffey got 24, 25 minutes. He's 3K on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with Batum. Batum played still 14 minutes. So
Yeah.
there's still 14 minutes from Batum right there. If he's out, the question is Man going to play? Man was questionable last game. He didn't play. He's questionable again today. If he plays, then it kind of muddies the water a little for Coffey and maybe Luke Kennard a little bit, but I think it more hurts Coffey for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I still think you need to look to these guys because, like, if Man's in, I think Man's a fine play at 4-7 if he's fully healthy. I think Eric Bledsoe, you can look to him again. I'm not the biggest Eric Bledsoe fan, but he's, seen 36 minutes his last two games. Yeah, I think that these guys are fine plays, and even Zubac, and I hate Zubac.
I know you're not a big fan of him.
Don't love the matchup either against Steven Adams. It's just a monster down low, but yeah, I'll look to these guys for sure. The Memphis guy's not as much.
Yeah, so there's one guy that stands out to me every time, and maybe it's just because I'm thinking more potential than actual DFS production, but Jaren Jackson. Yeah. 6,300 here. I mean, what is he? If I fall on him, it's cool, but we're not singling him out. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment right there. Okay. I mean, the guy he never sees his full minutes, whether it's foul trouble. I mean, it's foul trouble. I mean, the guy is always, it feels like he's always in foul trouble.
And at this point of his career, you would think he would have figured it out by now. But I'll tell you what, using the course provided by runforsports.com, there's a lot of times that I end up with around 6,300 left in that utility, right? And that's the name that's been jumping out to me right around that price range. And maybe I'm just being blinded by potential and the fact that I would want him on a team that I'm rooting for and not actually looking at the actual production.
I will say, if you're looking at potential and a price tag, I mean, Steven Adams at 4.6 is kind of wild to see. At 4.6 for Steven Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there screams value to me. There's some games where he gets played off the floor a little bit, but I feel like the Clippers news might lean it to more them playing bigger, which might keep him on the floor. You know what I mean? As opposed to that small ball unit where it would probably pull him off the floor, right, Spread?
Yeah. But I think you're right. If they're thin, they're going to have to get some Zubac minutes, maybe even some dreaded Hartenstein minutes, right? Who actually hasn't played that bad. If you just watch the games and you're not going off salaries or names, you would say that they're actually pretty close. And it really, if I was handicapping and I saw, Zubac's out for the rest of the game, you got to take these Hartenstein minutes instead. I don't really think that downgrades the team so much. And 2 years ago, I never would have said that. I thought that Zubac was a much better player, but I think Hartenstein's improved a little bit. Well, Zubac's kind of been running flat with the way that he plays that game.
Hartenstein's better than Zubac.
I would watching the game now. I think that he gets the run more off, past accomplishments and the fact that the other players are more comfortable playing with him, right? But yeah, you just watch and his minutes really aren't that bad there. So when he's out, I don't really downgrade them at all. So we both like the Grizzlies here -1. And we love to say it, right? I feel like Travis when I'm saying this. Wait for the news, and you might be adding some of these Clippers to your DFS lineup. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers catching 7.5, heading to play Denver to take on the Nuggets. Another quote-unquote wait for the news game. And, of course, the news that we are waiting on is mainly Will Barton, because I think a lot of those other guys become attractive with no Barton in the game at the prices they've set. Danny Green out, Joel Embiid out, Tybal out for the Philadelphia Sixers. That's, two big wing players and, of course, their main guy in the middle. Bones Highland probable. Zeke Najee's already out, which is too bad because he had played pretty well in the limited opportunity he had. And then, of course, Michael Porter Jr. still dealing with that back injury that's the injury that caused him to fall so far in the draft, which allowed the Nuggets to get such a great guy at pick 12 that year. So really interesting situation here. Even without the Barton news, I'll take the Nuggets minus 7.5. I mean, you see why Drummond, right? The guy's just the epitome of a DFS guy, right? He doesn't help you win. He just puts up all those stats. So he's been in. He puts up these big numbers. But, the Sixers have gone from winning most of their games to losing most of their games. I think Tybalt's a huge loss, of course, on the perimeter that Denver will be able to take advantage because I think he could clamp some of those guys down. I think this gives Monty Morris and some of those other guys a chance to score, not going against the best defenders. Harris, not sure if he's back to 100% yet. After that bout with COVID, where it wasn't just that he was following the protocols. He felt the symptoms. He was definitely hurting, and he might not be back to 100%. So I like Denver here. I'm going to lay it. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think I would lean your side too on the Denver side. I think they just at home, and they play better spread when the ball just always runs through Jokic, in my opinion. That's why, even when they're down like a Will Barton, or as crazy as to say like an MPJ, I don't downgrade it, I think, as much as some people do downgrade it, just because I still think the ball needs to run through Jokic. And honestly, that type of news helps that in ways where it's like, it's just better team basketball because Jokic, he's going to make the right basketball play. He's going to get it to the open guy if they're open, or if not, and he's one-on-one, he's going to take it to his defender. So one or the other, both of them are great scenarios. You're either getting an open jump shot or a Jokic shot, which is usually a pretty good shot. So I think that this team is just a solid team whenever Jokic is on the floor, and against a Philly team that I don't really love without Joel Embiid. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll take the Denver side. I will push back though on one thing. I think Tobias Harris is healthy. I think he's fine. I threw out the Utah game. They got smacked. He didn't play that great, but they just got smacked. The Utah, they're just a better team. Utah's
and
just
can you imagine you're coming
team.
off COVID, which is a lung issue, and then you have to play in altitude your very first game?
Yeah.
But this is altitude again tonight, so have to take it into consideration.
But again,
but there's no way you're rostering it 8-8, right? Or am I wrong?
No, I don't think you roster him at 8-8. But again, against the Pacers, 10 for 22, 3 for 4 from 3, 9 for 10 from the free throw line, 51 fantasy points, 32 and 11. I mean, that's a pretty damn good line right there. You know what I mean? So I think he's fine overall. Maybe the altitude, maybe that's a good call spread. Maybe the altitude will be something that could cause him some issues for sure. So I'm not paying for him. I can't see anyone really paying for him at 8-8 though. It's just
that's one of those ones where you're trying to get different, right? I mean, that's the only way.
Yeah, well, it's one of those, you're stacking the game, right?
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I'm playing Jokic. Let me get the best player on Philly, and then let's run. You know what I mean? Let's do this. But I don't know. I can't do it. I mean, could you play I don't know, a Shake Milton if he gets to start again? Maybe 5K, but other than that, who's really priced not up? Drummond's 8-2, Maxey's 7-1, and I love Tyrese Maxey. I mean, maybe Maxey's an interesting, contrarian type play in large field tournaments. I would say 7-1, but Tobias.
Let me get your thoughts here on Bob gave us a good prop earlier. He's coming with another one, trying to go 2 for 2. I would say I think he's onto something good here, right? I think they're going to funnel all the usage, 26.5, right? What's the scenario where he doesn't get there? He has 15 assists because they double him all night. I think a lot of times they'll shoot through the double team. I like that over. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting. I do think that to start, he's going to get more looks against Drummond. And then if it doesn't work, then maybe they'll start throwing the double teams in there. So the points, I don't hate it. The scenario where he doesn't get there is he's got 15, like Spread said, 15 assists. Yeah. And honestly, even in those games, he still probably has a chance to get there. I mean, but that's the way he doesn't get there, right? Spread is
I think so.
He scores 22, has 15 assists, has 10 to 14 rebounds. Like that's the way where he doesn't. But I do think against Drummond, he'll get more one-on-one looks, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to start off just
I think
throwing
they
the
have to
double
start
team
that way.
at him,
And
but
Doc's never been a guy to really use a lot of tactics during the regular season. I mean, to be
that's
fair, one
yeah.
of the big complaints is he doesn't use enough during the playoffs, but he definitely just lets the team ride
You
during the
mean
regular
like
season.
Steve Kerr, who was throwing a box in one and a triangle in two at
Yeah.
Durant and Harden? Did you see where Durant
They were
was
up
like,
for that game. They were up for that
box out of here. Get that
Yeah.
box in one out of here to Mike. To what was it? Mike Brown or whoever it was. He was like,
Yeah.
get that box in one out.
It was Mike Brown is he on the net staff now?
No, he's on the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah,
think,
okay.
right?
That's why I was surprised that you said that. I thought
No,
about this?
He was telling Brown, like, get that
Yeah.
stuff out of here. Like, he
Yeah.
was like, stop it.
Do you like the points, rebound, assists for Jokic better than points? I personally do. What do you think?
Points.
I think
what
you're
is it
safer
at?
there. The PRA at
45
and a half. Yeah.
That's the safer bet.
Yeah, it's much
I
safer.
love that. That's a great
Yeah.
bet right there.
Yeah, I think that's much better as well. All right, let's move on to the last game, although it's not very exciting. It's the largest spread. The Toronto Raptors are now catching 10.5, heading to Utah to take on the Jazz, who are kind of like the Baltimore Ravens of the NBA here. They like to beat up on these weaker teams, and they cover these big spreads a lot. Now, I know that when I wrote about this game, OG was questionable, but I don't see him now. Is he going to play, or is it just
he's out spread?
He's out a while. Yeah.
For a while.
I don't know why they put that on the left. It's just so weird how Basketball Monster just tricks me sometimes. But he's out. I think that they can absorb that though, right? You get a little more Siakam, you get a little more Scotty Barnes. You still have like a great athletic front court, and Fred VanVleet's been playing a little better here. I like taking the points with the Raptors. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. I like taking the points with the Raptors here too. I'm with you. 2 for 2 on this one. I do think, obviously, it's in Utah, right? Right, spread?
Yeah.
Yeah, this game. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough place to play. Good team. But the way Toronto plays, it's like they play they give their main guys all the run. They play to win these games, which is one of the things I love about them for DFS is their main guys in close games are playing like 35 plus minutes, almost guaranteed. So you can just check off the minutes. You're going to get your guys on the floor for sure. And now with some of these other guys like OG out, Precious is out, Aaron Baines has been out, but and I think Watu's been out for a while. But like you're going to see probably even more of a Titan rotation. I think last game spread they played 8. I'm pretty sure, and like. The most a bench guy played was like 14 minutes or 12 minutes. It was something like so low. All their starters saw like massive run. I think you're going to see that here again as long as the game stays close. And I think the Raptors are good enough to keep this game close. And I think they have the type of skill. OG hurts it a little bit, but I think they have the type of skill to maybe where like, make it tougher on Utah, where the Utah plays obviously Rudy and, the bigs for Toronto are very different. They're not like big imposing guys like Rudy Gobert. Maybe they can pull him off the rim a little bit. Like Boucher is a perfect comparison. Like, are they going to leave Boucher out at the 3-point line, or
is Nurse even going to play Boucher for a guy that I think is a pretty good player? He doesn't like him.
I think he's going to in this spot.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Kem Birch who plays a little bit too. Like spread. Who do you think starts for OG? You think they just start another guard, like another shooter? Or do you think they start like Kem Birch?
Did OG miss the last game? Can we just look at that one? Because I don't think he'll switch it.
Fred VanVleet missed a game. Either it was last game or the game before, I think. Who missed? I don't think he missed last game. The last game was against Portland, correct, spread?
Yeah.
Yeah, so OG played in that game. He played 41 minutes in that game. Trying to think of who did they start? They started Dragic the game that Fred VanVleet missed.
Right.
With Fred VanVleet in, they're not going to start Dragic.
They go Fred, Trent, OG, Siakam.
And then who do they go? They either go big or little. Do they go big against Gobert or do they go little? and
I
play
personally would
like
go little, but I don't know. Obviously, Nick
Svi?
Nurse knows a lot better than me. Right? That's
Svi,
how you beat
maybe?
Gobert. You bring him outside, right? You don't want to.
Well, that's what I was thinking. You bring
Yeah.
someone who you bring, like, do you think they start Svi Mikhailov?
Oh, that's not a bad look. And he's only 3,100 if they do. So we'll definitely, quote unquote, wait
This
for the
is
news on this
be
game.
a spot though for DFS where you kind of wait on the starting lineups and maybe you backload these 8 o'clock games, which these 8 and 9 o'clock games, which would mean you probably wouldn't have a lot from the 7:30 if we don't get this news. But I think the news is kind of crucial to the slate because you could be potentially getting a 3-1, 3K type player in the starting lineup, whether it's Svi, Chris, Bobby Boucher, which I don't think it would be him in the starting lineup, just because I think Nurse hates him, or
Yeah,
Kem
that's
Burke.
weird. They should just trade him. I think he's good. I don't know why Nurse doesn't like him.
It is weird. I think Kem Birch would be the next guy up though. Spread. It's either big with Kem Birch or little with Zvi. That's my guess.
Do you think we'll get the news by the time you guys are doing the final countdown tonight? Do you think that you'll be analyzing, or do you think it's going to be a post-lock news?
I think it's going to be a post-lock news.
That's tough.
I
All
hope
right,
not. I guess from an ownership perspective, if you're backloading, you almost kind of hope you get it after.
I know Travis loves
after
that.
7:30, but before 8, so you can maximize those other 4 games. That's always the goal, because not everyone will be able to pivot in ways that you can if your whole lineup is free. Whereas if you got like 4 or 5 spots, maybe they can fit in the value and spend up for one person, but they can't. They don't have as much lineup flexibility. And we like Toronto to cover. So like spread in DFS, when we get these spots, you got to like the Toronto side for DFS. You got to like Van Fleet or Siakam or Scotty Barnes. You got to like some of these guys because if we're thinking the game stays close, they're going to play 38, 39 minutes. I mean, OG saw 41 in a close game against Portland. Siakam, what did he see? He saw 39. Fred Van Fleet, I think, saw close to that as well. 40 for Fred Van Fleet, and he's seen 40. 2 of his last 3 games, 3 of his last 4 games, he's seen 40 or more. So, I mean, how can we not like these guys if they're going to be on the floor and we think they're going to cover?
How many Raptors is too many?
If we get the news that a 3K guy is starting, I think you could play 4.
Wow. Okay, cool. All right. Well, guys, remember, to be able to act on this news, you do need to become a member of RunPureSports.com. You can watch the final countdown featuring JSU. And then, of course, when the news happens after lock, like it probably will tonight, you jump in the Discord, you shoot them a question. There are always coordinators in there to answer your question pretty quickly and help you find the winning lineup. Use the promo code GetBets, get access to my site as well. Get access to all my plays, including JJ's, the Sports Kegs, Tyler's, Joey Works, and Score with D. Quite the team we have going on here, so please check it out. Also, quick reminder, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. That being said, JSU, are you ready to give out a best bet?
Yeah. So we didn't give that many bets last time on this show, so I do want to give out 2 for the people
I love it.
to make up for it. I'm going to run through. I love the Warriors here, 9.5. I think they just smacked the Cavs. And then I like the Grizzlies -1 and Toronto to cover at +10.5.
All right.
I could have went one more, but I'm going to save it for you because I think it's going to be your best bet.
Yeah,
but I will agree with you when you say it.
We'll take the Minnesota Timberwolves to beat the San Antonio Spurs.
I thought you were going to say Denver, but I'm with you on Minnesota too. So we'll take Minnesota too.
Yeah, we'll stay away from Denver till we get that news. And like you said, you know, if Harris is 100%, he could keep them close in that game, and that could be a fun one. So I'll be on Denver, and I made that bet myself. But given the best bet, the one that we will tout, of course, if this wins, and I'll throw the little bullseye and the cash bag emoji above the tweet and send the tweet out. And that one is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, guys, I see some questions here about the NFL in the chat. Fortunately, JSU is about to go do an NFL show, right? That's why we started early today, right?
Yeah.
So you can give the people the NFL winners right when you get off here. Is that going to be a free show, or do you need to be a member to be able to watch it?
Yeah, so you need to be a premium subscriber at Rumpier Sports. We do a Thursday night football showdown show. Me, Big T, Tambo on the premium side. It starts around 3:45 Eastern time. We'll go for about an hour. Break down the whole showdown slate for tonight, and give you the winners. And then obviously we got all the core plays, showdown playbook. Big T does a full player pool of his exact player pool listed, I'm pretty sure, by ownership of what he's got in his MME pool. And then he gives you his favorite few captains. Tambo does a nice slate plan attack write up for showdown. And then K Falik gives a 3-max strategy write up. I mean, we have everything over there. So if you're not a member, become a member. You can use the code GetBets, right, Spread? Then you get the bet side.
That's the promo code I love for you guys to use.
And you get the Rumpier Sports side too.
All right, and we don't want to give away too much, JSU, but I have to ask: is there going to be a backup quarterback in your core?
No, definitely not. I'm not. I will say though, I understand the in my head, I guess it does make sense because in Showdown, you need to be building. The way you should be thinking of building is trying to build a unique team, right? So a team that is not going to be duplicated, a team that people aren't just going to just randomly be able to build and be like, oh, that's not an obvious team. That's the style of which you should be building. You should be trying to find ways to be unique. And from that standpoint, playing the backup QB is going to be unique because the QB is going to come in unowned, and it's going to completely change that build. You could build the chalkiest team ever and then just make that quarterback change, and your team's going to be unique. The problem is if you don't get an injury, you're screwed.
You just gave away your entry fee.
And you're not going to win. But going into it, if you know that and you say, screw it, I'm going to make 20 lineups and I'm going to play 2 backup quarterback lineups. I mean, know going in that the most likely scenario is that those 2 lineups are dead money going in. Right. But if you somehow catch the quarterback that gets injured in the first quarter and you get 3 quarters of run with an unowned quarterback, you're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, give JSU some time to go ahead and get prepared for that show. I want to thank everybody for watching today and, of course, liking the video, subscribing, sharing with their friends. We will be back tomorrow with AP. I can't believe it's Friday already. Man, these days are just flying by with the multiple sports. It's like I wake up, I do NBA, I do some NFL work, I do some tennis work. Next thing I know, it's 6 p.m. and I'm halfway through the evening games, breaking down and taking the notes on all the great NBA action I've watched. So JSU, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come give us the winners, the best bets one more time. Give them your 2 and I'll give them the last one.
So Golden State -9.5 for sure. Going to be one of my favorite bets of the night. And then I do like Toronto to cover +10.5.
All right, so he's laying it with the Warriors, taking it with the Raptors, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Timberwolves at -1.5 or -2. Thank you, everybody, for watching.